Assalamu alaikum, brother Kai.
Walaikum salam, my brother. How's the brother, man?
Everything's fine, brother, and yourself?
I'm well, alhamdulillah.
Okay.
Juma Mubarak.
Jumar Kareem. Yeah. That's right. Here we are on a Friday. We do Fridays.
No, we haven't done a Friday.
Yeah, Saturday and all these other days, right?
Yep. Trying, so you gotta switch it up sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Had one of those mornings, brother, so you bear with me today. We had one of the mornings, getting some work done to the house upstairs. You know what I mean? And the particular topic that we chose to talk about, the lower nature.
Right.
The lower nature. So I felt like, why do I have to be perfectly ready mentally and emotionally for a topic like that? Only because you're not spiritually and mentally ready when you violate it. You know what I mean? So I'm just gonna go ahead and we're gonna roll with this thing, man.
Good.
So we open up out of respect and love for the God and the messenger and the reminder. So we open up in the name of Allah, the beneficent and merciful. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger and now exalted Christ, and I further bear witness that the Honorable Minister of Farrakhan is their divine reminder in our midst today. So it's in their names that I greet you once again in the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum to the viewers.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Always. That's what this is all about. You know, we get on Sunday. We trying to get the viewers to come on out on Sunday, right?
Right, join us.
That's right. Get fed with us, man. It's a good meal, isn't it?
Yeah, you'll be happy afterwards. You'll be
Big time.
satisfied.
Now that our student, not now, but our student regional minister, he's doing the Muslim program. So any kind of questions and stuff you have for the Muslim program, you know, we welcome the questions with a good spirit, and we also, you know, we guarantee that a lot of your questions before you ask will be answered, because that's what we're doing now, the Muslim program, which is the solution. We have it on the front door. Like, as soon as you come in, it's right there, 10-point program. But knowing how time flies the way it does, man, we're going to just go ahead and move diligently into this timely topic, a topic that a lot of people shun from.
Right.
You know, people don't like to talk about things that they're not good at, or things that they need to improve.
Yeah.
But yet we all talk about self-improvement.
Right.
But you never want to deal with the things that's wrong with you. You know what I mean? So we can start.
Okay.
Yep.
So lower nature. What's lower nature mean? Lower nature.
Well,
People may not have ever heard of that before.
really, you're right about that. You're right about that. Well, the lower nature, I would say, from the way we were taught and the way I'm understanding it, you know, normally I have my phone and I like to just look it up, but just the lower nature is dealing with the human being, and how the human being has two natures.
Okay.
The Holy Scriptures point to two different things. You have the Holy Bible that says none is righteous, no, not one. That we're all born in sin and shaped in iniquity. Well, that's looking as though we can't get it right. If it says none is righteous, no, not one. You know, and we all fall short. Holy Scripture. If we all fall short from the glory of God, then that's basically saying that our nature is to fall short, or weak, or low, not righteous, right? But then the Holy Quran talks about how human beings, Allah created us, the original people, in the nature of Islam, which means the nature of obedience. That this is the way we should set our face toward our nature, the nature in which Allah created men and women. So now you have, a whole nother picture. And we believe in all the prophets. We make no distinction. We believe in the prophets and the revelations that they brought to humanity. Moses in the Torah, Jesus in the Gospel, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, and the Holy Quran, the revelation of the Quran. So we believe in all of the revelations. And we see them as being revelations that come from the same God, the one God, to whom praise is due forever. Understanding it that way, what is God telling us? Do we have a lower nature, or do we have an upright nature? And the answer, a lot of times, whenever we have these we're faced with these kind of questions, the answer is both. You have an upper nature and you have a lower nature. The Adam and Eve story, Minister Rodney was just touching on that last Wednesday, and I implore everyone to come on out. We have what you call an hour of power, where the minister, student regional minister Rodney Muhammad, speaks at 7:30 on the nose, and he finishes 8:30 on the nose. And this is the format or the setup of our Wednesdays now. Our format or our layout is a lecture series for an hour, and that's straight. For an hour, and that's it. He don't even allow you to hang around.
Oh, okay.
That way you could be home when you're supposed to be home. It don't make no sense if you're going to stop at 8:30 and you're still talking about it to 10 o'clock. So it's a beautiful thing. Anything we can't get in that hour, we are to, catch it the next week, do a part 2. But he was just touching on that lower nature, and how Adam and Eve is dealing with the upright nature of man and lower nature of man. It's not necessarily dealing with a woman. Eve is not necessarily dealing with a woman, but the lower nature of humanity. See what I'm saying? Being the weaker vessel, well, every human being, male and female, have that weaker self. And that's the self that Satan plays on and appeals to. He doesn't appeal to the strong self. He appeals to the weaker self. In the New Testament, when Jesus was fasting for 40 days and 40 nights, anybody who practices fasting, right? When you practice fasting, you know that that's a weak point, especially that first day. So if you want to know what that lower nature is all about, check that out. Fast, and then you just met your lower nature. Because you started off saying, I'm going to fast for 3 days, I ain't going to eat nothing, I'm just going to drink.
Then your mind starts telling you,
there it is.
That coworker comes up to you, slice of pizza.
I say no more. I said, what's the lower nature? Is that? Yes, sir. Yep. I'm going to stop with that.
Oh, okay.
That's right on point.
Praise be to Allah. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Good example.
It is. I'm going to come back to that point too.
Okay.
But I wanted to ask you something first. All right. So when, in matters of religion, you have like a number of different so-called religions: Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism. Does lower nature, this idea of lower nature, like, can you be a Muslim who doesn't have, where you're out of control with your lower nature? Can you be a Christian where you're out of control with your lower nature? I feel like, people get caught up into religion so much, but this concept of lower nature, how does it relate to religion? Does it relate to religion?
Well, good question. Here's the deal. I believe the first part of your question was dealing with how you deal with it as a Muslim or as a Christian, right?
Right.
Well, to answer that, Muslims or human beings they have a lower nature. And people with lower natures just happen to be Muslims. Some happen to be Christians.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So it's not like it has, it's connected to religion.
Right.
You're connected to the religion, and you happen to have this lower nature.
Okay.
This dual nature, one that's upright and one that's on the level of the beast or horizontal,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
So it sounds
you
like
have a
this is-
vertical
Uh-huh.
and a horizontal.
Mhm.
And the cross, the actual image of the cross, is actually talking about the dual nature of humanity,
Okay.
upright and lower.
Mhm.
Lower meaning the level of the beast,
Mhm.
not on a 90-degree angle where you're standing erect or upright.
Mhm.
But a lot of animals, they crawl on all fours.
Okay.
See what I'm saying? That horizontal level.
Mhm.
And when you're living like that, Brother Kyle,
Mhm.
and you know that that's not a good way to live, you end up, submitting to a way that's supposed to teach you a better way,
Right.
so that you can rise up and stand up.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So we pick or choose these religions to help us speed up that process, and that's how religion is connected to that lower nature.
Okay. So it sounds like it's a condition of humanity, like you said.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And living one's life a certain way helps you to overcome the lower nature.
You gotta practice what you preach.
Okay. It makes perfect sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wonder, have you ever met someone that had a disagreement who found that to be disagree with the concept of lower nature?
Really, no.
Okay.
Now, that's deep, because I found people that run from their lower nature. They run from the reality
Okay.
of because nobody wants to feel vulnerable.
Okay.
We don't enjoy not being under control.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So when you lose control, you most of the time want to do that when you're alone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You want to lose control alone. So a lower nature is just like if you tell the world that you're not going to eat today,
Mm-hmm.
right? I go back to that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the middle of a day, when your stomach start growling, if you are not an honest person, you might sneak and get something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
But you don't want to show people you breaking your word or your discipline.
Right.
So you'll hide.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, this is being a little extreme. I don't believe they would go that far with food.
Uh-huh.
But when it comes down to being a righteous human being,
Mhm.
a righteous Muslim, a loyal and dedicated husband,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Well, if you're going to break that loyalty, you're not going to do it on Front Street.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to hide. So in the scriptures, it talks about the daytime and the nighttime.
Mm-hmm.
The nighttime is when it's harder to see a person.
Right.
You put on your black,
Uh-huh.
you know what I mean? And you do your crap. But in the daytime, it's kufi time.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's collar time. If you're a priest, you know?
Mm-hmm.
At nighttime is hammer time. You know what I mean? And these are things that people get so good at doing that they end up turning into another human being. So now the other you is a monster that you have convinced the upright self doesn't even exist anymore. You detach that monster from yourself, and this is the reason you're not even connected to your self-accusing spirit. Because the self-accusing spirit is not even being activated if you're not in touch with reality.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I would go as far as saying people that live that kind of life are literally detached from reality. And that's a real bad place to be.
Wow. Okay. This this is a psychology term for that. It's not coming. It's a D word. It's not coming to me right now.
Okay, it'll come.
Yeah. But okay. Praise be to Allah. That makes. That makes a lot of sense. So, All right, focusing on the lower nature, right? It's almost like from the way you explained it, it's almost like taking the mirror out and taking a look at oneself.
Right.
But you were saying how some people like to the truth could be hard to deal with, or some folks would rather run from the truth than to face it.
Right.
Do you think that could be true?
I mean, that's absolutely true. It's like the Matrix. We live in a fake world. And the biggest victim of this fake world, or the person who's guilty of making this fake world, is ourselves a lot of times. We help contribute to this fake world when we won't be straight up with ourselves. You know what I mean? I mean, how can you fix a problem that you won't admit to? If I go to the hospital and before I even allow the doctor to check me out, if I say I feel great and I'm not feeling good, but I'm telling the doctor, he said, well, how's your breathing? Oh, it's fine. My vision is fine. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, I have no problem hearing, never. Nobody never. What'd you say? I mean, if you're given a false diagnosis, right? Then how can you ever get right? Am I using that right? Or if you given false
you giving false information.
How you can't get the right diagnosis. Okay, now we good. You know what I mean? And that's what it is. So we give those false lessons out every day in our lives. You know what I mean? We feed ourselves and we study false doctrine. We study false, false lifestyle practices. And we get nothing out of it. I learned that a long time ago. First of all, you can't go wrong doing right. And you'll never be right if you don't know what's wrong. So if you really want to deal with self-improvement or enjoy being improved, you must deal with that self that you're not so proud of, that you don't like so much. Most of us have a self that we don't like. We should have that self. You can't like everything about yourself. There's no growth in that. Why would you get rid of something that you like? So I have things about me that I don't like. And then, the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as taught by Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, it teaches me how to be courageous enough to deal with those dislikes. And then the part of self that I do like, I can really learn to even love now because it's a no nonsense self. See what I'm saying? Because this upright nature is taking charge of the whole body now. It knows how to keep the lower in check. The way we sit, the right hand representing the upright nature, and the lower nature being your left hand, we keep that in check. We don't get rid of it. I don't believe we have what it takes to get rid of it, but we can keep it in check. And the more you keep it in check, the more real confidence you can have. You know what I mean? So I thank Allah for that beautiful process that we can all experience if we are real with ourselves.
Now, is there I feel like some people like in religion could be very arrogant.
Right.
When you're going through the process of struggling to overcome your faults, your deficits, your lower nature, is that a humbling process?
Big time.
Okay.
Big time. And I have to say this, and we may revisit this over and over again, that word real and phony, those two words. Because if you really, how can you be real if you're arrogant and you don't have it all together? So you would have to be phony if you are looking down on other people and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That God is looking down on you because he sees you 24/7.
Yeah.
And you're not what you should be. If you are real at all, that would humble you enough to never look down on another brother. We were talking with Brother Antine in here today.
Right.
You know what I mean? Our Salafi brother. You know what I mean? Beautiful spirit. You know what I mean? Love talking to that brother. And we were talking about real Islam. That's a whole nother topic. We'll save that for another day. The beauty of how Muslims can use that Holy Quran and tap into the brotherhood that our Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, tapped into. That's why he was able to take all of these different religions, Christians and Buddhists and people, the Zoroastrianism, people that follow Zoroaster, and people that follow the Hindu faith, and all of these different faiths, and they became Muslim because of that common denominator message that Allah gave humanity, the Holy Quran, that brings these religions together. So I'm just saying it's a beautiful experience when you can tap into that. You know, we were talking with the brother and we were saying how Islam, what's up, brothers? How you doing? We were talking about how Islam signifies peace and humility. When you're constantly saying Assalamu alaikum, right? I'm giving you peace. And the world is not a peaceful world. So if the world is not peaceful and we're constantly giving peace and sharing peace and extending peace, that's humility. If somebody is not looking at you the same way, but you still want to extend peace to that person. So when I gave him the salams on the way out, you know, I gave him a hug and everything, and I let him know, and he knew it was real. But this is Islam. Islam is the strongest brotherhood we can ever have. That's right. So I don't want to go too far into that because that is another topic, and inshallah we'll be, meaning God willing, we'll get back into that.
Got it. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But definitely humility is the part of all of that I was trying to point to.
Okay.
Right.
No, the flip side to that is, so as, like, let's say you're a person who's going through the process to become better spiritually, stronger spiritually, like fasting, praying, steady, right? Now, the common person, they look at this brother making these moves, doing these things, and what happens if a person starts to put you on a pedestal? Maybe you don't. Maybe you, like you said, you humble, but you just trying to work through the process of self-improvement. But you know, some of our people can just be, you know, they put you on that pedestal that you don't need to, like, you don't want to be on, you don't need to be on, and it's like, nah, don't look at me like that.
Right.
You know, how does that work?
Honesty would be the best way. See, again, we have to be courageous enough. We can't be afraid, courageous enough to deal with our lower nature. We can't be afraid to speak on it. You have to address it, but sometimes you gotta let somebody check this out. You still want to put me on the pedestal after that? Sometimes you might just have to open up a little bit.
Yeah, okay. Let me show you.
Check this. You know what I mean? When they see that, but here's the downside to that.
Yeah.
Now you just disrupted their whole faith. And that's really not a joke, but it can be a joke too. Because to look at a human being and try to worship that human being is a joke. But when you see how many people do that, it's not a joke.
Yeah, it's like a dysfunctional reality.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is what we do with prophets and messengers and Christ figures. We worship the figure and not the real source that gave birth to the figure. So I was looking at one of our videos and I had said it, I think it was who was Master Farah Muhammad. I had said it a little wrong because the source, our source would be the minister, but we also know that the real source is Allah. So I was I like to be right and exact, you know. But a vessel, I couldn't think of the word. That's what the minister is. That's what Jesus is. That's what Moses is. And Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon them all. That's what you and I can be, inshallah. And we are that, a vessel.
Right.
If I bring you a glass of water, I can't negate that the glass is present. The glass is there, but I'm not interested in the glass. I'm interested in what's in the glass.
Right.
So I want to make sure it's pure. I want to make sure it's cold.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure it's going to help me.
Mm-hmm.
Refreshing.
Mm-hmm.
But the glass itself is only the vessel that brings the pure drink to me.
Mm-hmm.
And we get it twisted.
Mm-hmm.
So now we start choosing decorated glasses.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We start seeing a glass that got a star and crescent on it.
Mm-hmm.
And now you more into the glass
Mm-hmm.
than the water. You'll die of thirst,
Mm-hmm.
worrying about the glass too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I believe you get the point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Very clear.
Because that's basically what we do when we go crazy over these vessels.
Mm-hmm.
The vessel is not to be drank. I can't drink a cup.
Mm-hmm.
I can't eat a cup.
Mm-hmm.
It would not be healthy for me to do that.
Okay.
To break it and liquefy it and drink it.
Mm-hmm.
Or to eat it cracked up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't want to belabor that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what we deal with. So a lot of times we may have to, share some information.
Okay. Okay.
That'll take care of that. But now you end up with an enemy because the person feel like you deceived them.
Right.
As if you told them that you were perfect.
Right.
Pay attention to these things. This is deep. When I say pay attention, I'm talking about we all
Right.
need to pay attention to how people become worshipers of people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe Buddha ever told people to worship him.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? I know Jesus never said worship me.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one that we worship the most as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Never told you to do it. He said he was the way. Well, that's like the glass saying, I'm the way you're going to get this water to your lips.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I'm the best way.
Mhm.
Yes, you can try to cup your hands,
Right.
but you're not going to be able to you're not going to be as successful as you can be
Right.
unless you go through me.
Yeah.
The glass can say that, man.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. It's an instrument.
And it's a truthful instrument. That's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And if you follow that truth, you will see the light. You know what I mean? But we are guilty of worshiping these people, and very rarely, I challenge anyone, find where these vessels are requiring you to worship them.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that we can copy. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So we have to dig on that, man, so we can stop that vicious process and give the proper praise to the proper God.
Yes, yes, yes.
You know? You be working with something then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Let me take it here for a second.
Mhm.
Being trained in the Nation of Islam, going through the process of being trained as a FOI, as an MGT.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of our training involves being able to accept correction, being able to correct someone if they're a little bit off,
Right.
and being able to maintain a proper spirit when doing so.
Right.
Now, you just got finished saying that as you begin to work on your lower nature, it really humbles you because you see yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So, but now, when you have to correct a brother or a sister, how does that work?
When you have to correct a brother or sister?
Yeah.
Well, I was a lieutenant. They say once a lieutenant, always a lieutenant.
Mm-hmm.
It works. The best example that pops up in my mind right now, Brother Kyle, is parenthood.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I know you don't have a queen, you don't have children yet,
Mm-hmm.
but all the parents understand what I mean when I say that. It's something that has to be done, but you try to handle with care.
Mm-hmm.
But your question is, how do I handle that part of it, the
Right.
correction?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I recognize it as being a necessary evil.
Okay.
You can produce evil correcting people when they're not ready to be corrected.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very necessary for you to do it,
Mhm.
especially if they're in your care in any kind of way. And I'm supposed to want for my brother what I want for myself. So you really don't even have to be a lieutenant to correct your brother. We have restrictive laws, and we are to help each other fulfill those laws. You know what I mean? And follow those laws. And when you handle with care, that's the best way I would say. You got to handle with care. It's a way that you say it.
Okay.
And the first thing I used to like to do is remember my own faults. And that kind of put me in the right mindset to correct another person.
Okay.
But if I just couldn't wait to correct a person, you know, which I don't feel like that. But if anybody has that attitude, that's not the way to go about that.
Okay.
Yeah. So the best way to go about it is recognize that you have to, and then you also have to recognize the right way to do it. And the right way to do it is to look at self first.
Okay.
Keeps you grounded.
Okay.
That's a grounding work. You must be grounded when you're correcting somebody.
Okay.
If you're not grounded, you're gonna make a mess.
Okay. Because when we look
Out of
at
yourself and the person you're trying to correct.
right, it's like we look at a lot of times, you know, people could be emotional. They might be going
Right.
through all types of things. You know, they might be struggling with self, but then you know, they're in the environment with the brothers and sisters, and I'm just wondering, can these types of things affect the way that they handle other, well, not just the brothers and sisters, but people in general? Because our work is a work in the community. Yeah. So.
So you saying, should we do it in front of people? Is that the question? I'm gonna hear you. Am I hearing you wrong?
Well.
Because we talk about correction, but we, you know, sometimes you might have to do it in front of people.
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
Right.
You know, you really, I would suggest that you try to not have people around. So you really got to weigh whatever it is the person is doing. Is it really worth causing a disturbance? You know what I mean? You have to weigh that.
Right.
Because if it's not, then you're the breach.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because we already understand how immature people are. We already understand how 400 years of slavery, people hate when we say it, but it's a reality. We're talking about these different books, Without Sanctuary, and 100 Years of Lynching, and Bullwhip Days, James Mellon. 100 Years of Lynching is Ralph Ginsburg. You know what I mean? So our people are psychologically beat up, and we are very immature and have very little confidence. So we got to be careful when we start correcting people,
Right.
especially in front of people, because people's confidence is so shallow that they can't even take it when it's just one-on-one, and it's amplified when it's you correcting the person in front of people.
Okay.
So you have to really be able to weigh, is it worth all of the mess that could come from it? You know what I mean? A person would have to be in total violation for me to correct them like that.
Okay.
I would prefer to be one-on-one with it. And even if I'm in the public, I'd rather pull the brother to the side and try to make it so that he hears it and nobody else.
Okay. Praise be to Allah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, praise be to Allah. And then I like what you said before about the being in the right spirit. That's really where I wanted to go. Being in the right spirit when a person corrects like another person. I mean, I know we were talking about lower nature before.
It's all
But,
wrapped up.
it's wrapped up because where I was going is that like if someone is in a negative emotional state, right? A part of your nature is being able to kind of self-stabilize, I think,
Right.
and not let the emotion to get the best of your judgment, and then you know act out of sorts. Because now you're emotional about something, so now you can't treat somebody appropriately because of something that you're dealing with internally.
Right.
Yeah. So with that, how would a person that's striving to, you know, improve, deal with that sort of thing? Like, how can your lower nature make it so that you're not treating people the way you should treat them?
Being detached from it. Being detached from the reality of it. See, our whole thing is to be aware.
Right. Okay.
When you're not aware, that's the problem. You know what I mean? And even down to you can be worshiping a person and not be aware. You know what I mean? I told my son today what our leader and Christ, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, said, right? Of course, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is the one who reminds us of what was said, but our messenger, Messiah, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the eye sees everything but itself. We have to meditate on those words, because we look at those words, or words that come from the mouth of our humble messenger, Messiah. We look at the words like, okay, I know this already. I know if I don't have a mirror, I'm not going to be able to see myself. No, but you're not listening, you're not meditating, and you're not trying to figure out why did Allah make him say that. See, because once you understand that it's not just words coming from a regular human being, but this is the Christ in our midst today talking. Now, those so-called insignificant looking words becomes revelation. It's holy scripture at this point. It's to be studied. And when you study it and look at it, you understand that a lot of answers to the questions that you're asking is based around you not really being able to see yourself the way you should. That's the problem. You don't know you have a lower nature. That's the problem. You don't know how active it is, even if you know you got it. A lot of us know that we got problems, but do you know how far your problems go? How deep is your problem? You know what I mean? Stop thinking that you know how far it goes and how deep it is. If you can't see yourself, then you're not a good judge of how deep your problem goes. Whatever that problem may be. I had problems. I told my son, so since the eye sees everything but itself, you need to be able to surround yourself. This is what I like to do. Surround myself around people that I know got my back. That way when they say, yo Z, your brother Zebulon, you gotta check this. Then I can trust that person enough to be able to try to fix something that I don't even see is wrong. I trust them. I trust you. That if you're telling me that I need to peep something, I'm going to peep it. But see, we have a lot of hateful, jealous, wicked people in the world. And if they can make you insecure by pointing to something that ain't nothing, and trying to make it something just so that they can make you less than what you are, they'll do it. If they can give you insecurities, they'll do it. Why would you want to be around a person like that? That's going to tell you that you got something wrong and it ain't really nothing. You know what I mean? A deceitful friend is something that you don't need. You really don't even need a deceitful family member. That's why Jesus said, who is my mother? Who is my father? It's he that does the will of my Father who art in heaven. You know what I mean? If you ain't doing God's will, you ain't even my father. You ain't my mother. You're not my brother. You're not my nothing. That's really what it boils down to. Not that you just turn your back on your family members, but you can't let that family thing go too far. Because that family thing can pull you back into eating pork. And I ain't just talking about the flesh, but living a pork life. You do remember when, I know I do, when we joined this Islam and stopped eating pork, we had family members that their sole purpose was to make us eat pork again. Well, that's a little small example of how those type of people try to make you go back to an old lifestyle of pork and disobedience. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Yep.
When it comes to lower nature, are there any ayats in the Quran that come to mind?
Not off the top, no sir. But I mean, the Quran is full. If you can almost just open up the book, and of course, you'll see it. But that's good because I'm going to up that study.
Okay, praise be to Allah.
Yeah, I'm going to up that study.
Okay.
I normally find scriptures that back up what we say we believe. But when it comes down to that lower nature, this is a good, healthy study. You know what I mean? But the Quran is constantly talking about those who believe and those who don't. And each scripture where Allah is teaching us or telling us through our holy prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, he's always given a mindset of why.
Right.
Now here's a scripture that popped in my head.
Okay.
But he gives us a mindset, and this is really a good one because it's the source. He's given us the mindset of this lower nature that is out of control now, Iblis. So that's chapter 2, verse 30 in the Holy Quran. And I believe it's chapter 15, verse 30 in that area when it's dealing with Adam, because Adam represents man. That's what it means. And man is being played. And his lower nature, like we started off saying, Eve, it represents the nature in man. And that's why the Bible says, male and female created he them and called their name Adam. I believe that's Genesis chapter 5. Well, in the Holy Quran, it says, Allah said that he gave them both commands and they both broke it. So it's not Eve being more wrong than Adam, like we're taught in the church. They basically teach us that God spoke to Adam, and then Adam was supposed to relay the message to Eve. And when the devil comes on the scene, he didn't go to Adam, he went to Eve, making it look like Eve is a little more weaker than Adam, a little more wicked, you know what I mean, than Adam. So it's accessible than Adam. You know, that's how they pretty much teach the story. So he starts telling Eve all of these things, right? And Eve now receives this twisted up message from Satan and then shares it to her husband, basically being like a co-worker to Satan, man. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Once Adam messes up, this you know, I'm not even going to deal with this too long, but there's so many inconsistencies in their interpretation. We just thank Allah for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister of Farrakhan, because that is like a trap, being locked in that type of, you know, reality, where you look at your woman like, I mean, I even heard older men say, man, Eve messed up Adam in the beginning. Don't be no fool. Don't listen to no woman. Don't listen to no woman. They'll guide you astray. Where'd you get that from? That twisted up minded pastor with that twisted up message and that twisted up understanding of the Adam and Eve story that the Holy Quran straightens back out. So after Eve becomes a co-worker with Satan, she starts sharing that message to Adam. And then Adam listens to her, and then he finds out what happens. He pops up on the scene, and he goes right to Adam. Where are you, Adam? Everybody's talking to God but the woman. God is interested in Adam. He ain't thinking about the woman. That's what it looks like. The only way the woman gets in the conversation is when Adam, the Bible uses the term fig leaves. And fig leaves, like Minister Rodney was just talking last Wednesday, has many different meanings. One of the meanings is religion.
Okay.
You know what I mean? People always resort back to that religion. Once they start doing wrong, they want to prove it to be, I can do this in the religion that I chose. You know, the flesh is weak, see? That's the reason I did it. There's nothing you can do for your salvation. We all fall short. There's no way around that. You got a religion that's going to make it right. But fig leaves can also mean excuses. What was Adam's excuse? Because Adam didn't say he was a Muslim. He didn't say he was a Christian. He didn't say he was a Jew. But he still had a fig leaf. They both had fig leaves. They gathered fig leaves. So they gathered excuses. And they made enough excuses where they tried to excuse what they did wrong. To cover their shame. What are you ashamed of? This is a deep video, ain't it?
Yeah.
You see how Allah bringing this together? So you gather these fig leaves. What was the first fig leaf? This woman that you gave me told me to eat. And I ate. You gave it to me. Ain't that something? The woman that you gave me, he trying to put it on God.
Right.
Ain't put it on a woman. He trying to put it on everybody but himself. Boy, your questions is amazing. I was looking at that video with Hashim Hakeem. Shout out to our brother. That's where his shirt came from.
Right.
You know what I mean? Shout out to my brother.
Assalamu alaikum, brother Hashim.
That's right. Assalamu alaikum, fruit. But the Holy Quran scripture goes deeper into it because now it's dealing with the nature of a person who felt like he was better.
Mm-hmm.
So whereas though Adam is making fig leaves to cover his shame, in the Holy Quran, chapter 15, I believe that title is The Rock, entitled The Rock.
Mm-hmm.
Adam, or Iblis, is arrogant. You know what I mean? He ain't making no excuses. See these character defects? Iblis now is saying, man, I'm better than him. I'm smart, man. I got this understanding to make this fire, make you get up. I know what I'm talking about. I got a deep understanding of this thing. He's a wooden soldier. Watch, tell him anything, he'll do it. But me, I know too much. I ain't bowing down to no man. I'm bowing down to just you. You're not gonna make me bow down to this wooden soldier that you made out of black mud, that's made out of clay. You made me out of fire. I got a deep understanding. Arrogance is a weakness.
Okay. There we go.
Arrogance is fake confidence. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So all of this arrogance is a lower nature because it's toxic. It's intoxicating. You can get drunk off of arrogance. Tell me more about my eyes. Right? Sometimes women really know how to fake a man out. Those are the women that make men the happiest too, right? The ones who know how to make you think you just got it going on. Oh, you the man, baby. Right? Oh man, it worked, right? But that woman that's real with you, you want to get away from her. That's the very woman you should be going to. You hear that, baby? But she tell you like it is, my wife. Too much so. Let me get off that and be safe so we can have help. Look, we started off talking about Friday, right? We want to have a nice, peaceful Friday. So,
oh man, thank you so loud. All right, but what comes to your mind when you think of lower nature?
Right. Okay. Well, lower nature takes me right back to Adam. Like I said, it's the part of self that is the weak link of self, the loose wire of self. It's the part of self that's going to probably be used to make you make a mistake.
Okay.
See, if you're a balanced human being and you have good balance, well, that's the imbalance part. If you are known as being a very strong human being, well, that's the part of self that might not be able to live certain things. If I'm fighting you and you got a weak or bum knee, that's the part that if I want to defeat you, I'm going to focus on. The very part that you should strengthen.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So what comes to mind when I think about a lower nature, man, it's just a nature that needs to be strengthened and recognized. You gotta deal with it. You gotta find it. You gotta, you can't fix what you don't know is wrong. It's the part of self that keeps you from being a God. You see?
Yeah.
So how do you become a God? Strengthen that weakness.
Right.
Well, when you say lower nature and what comes to mind, demons come to mind. Demons. I'm smiling because I don't mean Slimer from the Ghostbusters. Not no little fat blob demon.
Uh-huh.
But the demon of arrogance, the demon of jealousy, the demon of no discipline,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the demon of hatred even.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Muhammad Ali, when he used to fight, he would get in your mind
Mm-hmm.
and get you angry so that you wouldn't be, you would be weak. You
Right.
wouldn't be thinking right now. Now you just coming at me, coming at a person with everything. You're not even breathing right, you're emotional.
Right.
You know what I mean? Emotional is twofold. You have good emotion, bad emotion. Good emotion is when I care enough to be sensitive with you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you so emotional, why don't you just tell them like it is? Can't do that. Can't do that. I don't want to hurt my brother, so I have to consider his feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's good emotion.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're too emotional where you don't even want to listen,
Mm-hmm.
see, I tell you something's wrong, and now you like, see, you can't handle the truth, man. You can't deal with truth because you're too emotional. That's bad emotion.
Mm-hmm.
But what comes to mind is demons. And I say that because I like for people to know what is real opposed to what is phony.
Mm-hmm.
Stop thinking it's some spooky thing floating around out there.
Mm-hmm.
A demon is a twisted up way of thinking, evil way of thinking. Some people can get so preoccupied with a human being, another person, and vindictive. And you just gotta get this person back, and
Mm-hmm.
you know you just really don't even mean this person any good. Well, you're possessed at that moment. You're not yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's not your nature to try to hurt somebody like that who is clearly leaving you alone. You just so preoccupied. You can't leave him alone. I gotta get him.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta get her.
Possessed.
I gotta pay them back.
Mhm.
Right. At that moment, you're possessed with an evil spirit. Proverbs 23, verse 6 or 7. Whatever a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. When you give yourself to that way of thinking,
Mm-hmm.
you're allowing demons to come in.
Mm-hmm.
I found self-righteous, lower natured people. Self-righteousness is when you chose a religion that is not right. You chose a religion that doesn't give you answers.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're angry at everybody who chose a religion that does have answers.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of you making the proper adjustment, you become hateful
Mm-hmm.
of the person who you think got a better religion than you or better understanding than you.
Mm-hmm.
See, the way you're thinking now, you're accepting an evil thought pattern.
Mm-hmm.
You're accepting this because your confusion is turning you into a devil.
Mm-hmm.
Confusion is a demon magnet. You're at your worst point when you're confused. That's what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
If you really want to know what draws demons and what demons really are, it's a state of dissatisfaction, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's our lessons.
Mm-hmm.
Dissatisfaction is what built this world.
Mm-hmm.
Yaqub preyed on people who were dissatisfied.
Mm-hmm.
He found 59,999 of them. He made 60,000. And they went to their island of Patmos, and they went with him and tore themselves away from the righteous, the ranks of the righteous,
Mm-hmm.
to follow a person who preyed and played on their dissatisfaction for his own personal agenda.
Mm-hmm.
That's our teaching. Holla at me, Brother Sabir. That's my big brother, man. But we talk about that a lot.
Okay.
So I'm always open for our brother, you know, to be that piece of steel that I need to sharpen this steel.
Mm-hmm.
Because we believe men sharpen men like steel sharpen steel.
Mm-hmm.
But that's it. That's how I would identify that lower nature.
What about alright, we once were talking about and it's me paraphrasing, but you were just basically saying like if a person refuses to like to work on their faults,
Right.
you put the burden on everybody else around you. You kind of like that's the way you were explaining it. Is that the case with lower nature? Like if a person doesn't strive to work on their lower nature, you become more of a burden to.
Well, your lower nature, most of the time, Brother Kyle, is your fault.
Uh-huh.
It's one and the same.
Okay.
When you ask me how do I see the lower nature,
Yeah.
it's a fault.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's anything negative.
Mm-hmm.
See, it would have to be because our lessons, our supreme wisdom, our student enrollment, question and answer, who is the original man? The original man is the Asiatic black man.
Mm-hmm.
The maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, God of the universe. How can you be God of the universe with faults?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That you don't know how to fix.
Mm-hmm.
How can you be the God, force, and power of anything?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? When you don't, when you don't want to improve
Right.
on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these things, you know, is basically a part of the growth process.
Okay.
So if you don't get involved in this type of mindset, there's no good, there's no benefit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's all the same. The lower nature is where all of these weaknesses come from.
Mm-hmm.
We in a world that's built from the waist down.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? People with the mentality of, that's why you turn the TV on, they're constantly promoting that lower nature. You can't buy a car
Mm-hmm.
without them showing a naked woman.
Mm-hmm.
Like this. So now the car is connected to the woman. I'm gonna get that car so I can get the woman. So I can marry her? No. You know what I mean? So I can have a man. Lower nature.
Mm-hmm.
Candy. I don't want a salad. I want ice cream. See what I'm saying? I don't want vegetables. I want a cookie. You know what I mean?
Cake.
Right. A lot of cake. Let me just keep going. Let's keep moving. But you know, I'm a cake lover, though. Real cake, right? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh man.
Yeah, carrot cake. All right, let's keep it right.
Got it.
But weaknesses,
Uh-huh.
and that's what I mean, the devil plays on these weaknesses, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we have to learn how to deal with these things.
Now, what about because what I want to move towards is, you know, taking it back to how we relate to how we interact, engage with people,
Mm-hmm.
how we engage in the community environment, like with the brothers and sisters, or just anywhere, like here at the barbershop, anywhere where you are in an environment and just you're dealing with other people. So, going back to what you just said about lower nature, like, what is the consequence of not addressing, you know, the lower nature to people around us, and what is, if any, and then what is the benefit of striving to address the lower nature to people around us?
Allah God Himself wants to see
Mm-hmm.
that if we're going to be used as vessels,
Mm-hmm.
are you sincere enough to see yourself? That's the benefit. When you look at yourself, Allah will bless you to become a magnet
Mm-hmm.
to the people,
Mm-hmm.
because they can feel your sincerity when you understand that you're not better than them.
Mm-hmm.
This person might be, you see how they act and walk up to them,
Yeah.
oh man, my bad. And I'm like, no, it ain't that kind of party, man.
Right.
We not out here trying to shine
Right.
on you.
Right.
We out here to let you know that we love you.
Right.
Don't think for a second that there's nobody out there that loves you.
Mm-hmm.
That's our stance as a FOI, as an NGT. When we go in the street, we must let our people know that this is as sincere as you can get.
Mm-hmm.
We're not even out there selling religion.
Right.
We got a newspaper to tell you what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
We're not trying to tell you, hey, your understanding that Jesus is wrong. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You have other organizations, they have pamphlets and paperwork to teach you a clear understanding of Jesus, and I applaud that. But when you see the FOI or the MGT, you see a black man that's learning first how to love you. So we have to identify with you first. Man, look, your lower nature or your weaknesses is expressing itself that way. Mine is expressing itself this way. And Allah has beneficence and mercy on all of us, man. I'm not out here to judge you.
Right.
Come on and sit down, let's talk. We're going to try to clean our neighborhoods up. If you had the power to do it, you would, wouldn't you? See, we go there with them tie-down questions. We go there to identify and reason with our people. You do know that we can get a lot of this done without the cops. You know that just like the police officers are men, white people are men, and they police their own community, we just out here trying to gather the men together so we can police our own community. We believe we will be better at it than the cops. What you think, brother?
Hard to disagree with that.
If you disagree with that, have a nice day, sir. Now the coronavirus, I'm just, have a nice day, sir. I gotta get away from you, because whatever you got, I don't want.
Yeah.
Coronavirus or just a damn ignorant Negroitis. I want you to keep all that.
Right.
See, if I'm saying if you can make this neighborhood a better neighborhood, if you had the power to do it, if I ask you, would you do it? And you say, no, I wouldn't do it, I gotta get away from you. You remember we in class? We were being trained, proper handling of people.
Right.
Shout out to Brother Alfonso
Uh-huh.
and Brother Omar when they gave that demonstration.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We got to get away from a maniac like that. It's no, whatever this person's problem is, you're not strong enough to fix it. Jesus said it himself in Matthew 17:21. This type of demon can only be cast out through prayer and fasting. Certain demons you ain't getting cast out unless you on a high level. I don't believe I'm there yet.
Well, that's the perfect segue, because I wanted to come back to fasting.
Go ahead.
And you just brought us back there.
All praises.
And I mean, that's the perfect scripture to do it too. So as we're seeking to get past our lower nature, our faults, how does prayer and fasting help us to do that?
Prayer is spiritual weightlifting, brother. You know I said that before. Prayer is spiritual weightlifting. And right after I double check this scripture, we're going to get into that. But I quoted the scripture, and I don't want to make you work harder than you have to about whatever man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And I said that was Proverbs. And I just want to make sure that we good. Is Proverbs 23, verse 7.
23:7.
Yes, sir. Okay. All right. So, if you're not living a very disciplined life, the life of Farrakhan, come on now, let's look at this thing the right way. I was talking with our brother Anton from the Salafi community. I said, a lot of people got a lot to say about our leader, but we don't pay attention. Like the Bible says, we don't have respect for our honorable men. The minister is not just Louis Farrakhan, Minister Farrakhan. He is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Why? Because ask yourself, if you disagree with me saying what I'm saying about that honorable man, did you ever live 1 year like he did? His 60 plus years of loyalty and dedication to what he believes in, did you ever have that kind of loyalty for 1 year? Ask yourself that. And if your answer is what mine is and yours is, no sir, then that's not worth honor?
Damn. That's a hell of a point.
See?
That's a hell of a way to put it.
Praise be to Allah.
Yeah. Like
Allah made me put it like that. He used me as a vessel to put it like that. Just in case you want to know why we get so excited over that man.
Right.
When we know he's a man.
Okay.
And he's not to be worshipped. And we shouldn't bow down to no man. And he's this and he's that. You know what I mean? He put his pants on like we put ours on. Why y'all go so crazy over him? It's because of that. The life that he lived. You follow me around, you're going to find something. He's under 24-hour surveillance. If the government was on me like that, I'm spitting and everything else. And I'm not a bad person. But that's a holy level. And we looked up the word holy in our other videos. When it's dealing with a purity, a godly purity, that is even a godly influence that makes it holy. Scriptures are influenced by Allah. It came from the will of Allah through the man. But his will is all over his word. That's what makes it holy. So the influence of Allah is on the life of Farrakhan. That's what makes him as holy as we can get as humanity. Because his life is bar none. I don't know anybody else. Nobody else. Leaders or not, that the government of the United States have never said one thing about his domestic life, his personal life, his moral life.
That's true.
Money, he stole this from the million man. Nothing. Man, he didn't break any laws. You gotta ask yourself, as a Negro, why you don't honor a man like this? I'm going to tell you why. Because you are a Negro. And that's a fact. That's mathematics. How can you not honor a man that looks like he belongs in your family? He looks like you, but yet God has favor on a man like this. God is all over a man like this. He's the vessel today of God. Shouldn't that make you feel a connection, if nothing else? Sometimes when I get excited and I look at the video, I get embarrassed. I hope this ain't gonna embarrass me. I'm feeling what I'm saying. I'm just gonna have to eat whatever the way I look. I ain't pulling my hair or nothing. Kind of caught me off guard, but it's all good. I'm confident enough to take this one on the chin.
Yes, sir. No, but I think it was well said, brother.
Praise be to
And
Allah.
it's coming from a genuine place.
Brother, I mean every word that I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because we're running out of time. Our world is falling apart.
Right.
And Allah, through his Messiah, Jesus, under the inspiration, Jesus said, I will not leave you comfortless. We are not comfortless. We act like we are. Who's the comforter? See, what is it? John chapter 16. Jesus said, it is expedient that I go. It is expedient for you that I go. But he said, when I go, I'm going to make sure I don't leave you comfortless. I am going to leave, and I'm going to make sure I send him to you. He's not coming to you until I leave, but when I leave, I'm going to make sure I send him to you, and he is going to represent me in my absence. Don't that sound familiar? Don't that kind of sound like our last Savior's Day? That the Honorable Elijah Muhammad did leave, and he left in a way where everybody was a little distraught because we weren't ready for that. But then when you blink, here's a twin called Farrakhan, with the same kind of love for the most part, same kind of loyalty and dedication, and wisdom and guidance, with his deep way of understanding the teachings of Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad,
Simple way of
given to
explaining
him by Allah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Simple way of explaining it.
yes sir. That's a comforter.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't love that, you gotta ask yourself, what is my problem?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because without the comforter, where you going?
Mm-hmm.
You definitely need one in a world like this. They killing people today. You crazy if you don't believe me.
Mm-hmm.
Do something worthwhile. Do something worthwhile. Wake your people up.
Mm-hmm.
Be a good example for your people of how to make your own business, make your own money,
Mm-hmm.
fix your own neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Lift your leaders that they want you to hide. Black History Month, you don't say nothing about the living leader today. We always say they don't say nothing about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. They don't say anything about, you know, certain leaders, but how can you ignore Farrakhan during Black History Month?
Right.
Is he not black? He is the premier black leader today. He's the only voice we got.
Mm-hmm.
That is not bought and paid for. We got many voices. But guess what? They trying to get money.
Right. Like you said, not bought and paid for, and then the track record of having, like, I don't know if we can find a person who's had more experience, like you said, living the life, but then also serving the community as a part of that life.
That's
You know what I mean?
That's right.
Yeah.
A man that knew Malcolm X,
Mm-hmm.
not a man that studied Malcolm X.
Mm-hmm.
A man that knew Martin Luther King. You know what I mean? A man that was alive when all this was going on, man.
Mm-hmm. All right, something else just came to me.
Go ahead.
So with Lower Nation now, it's one thing, like if a person has faults, like they have their things that they're struggling with, right?
Mhm.
That might be holding them back.
Mm-hmm.
So, like weaknesses you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
But what about something that might be a little bit more complicated, like a sort of weakness where maybe you don't have faith or you don't believe in yourself the way that you should. Like, because if a person can't believe in themselves, you don't know if you can get, like, you won't get things done because in your heart you don't think
Right.
you're, you know. What about that sort of? Is that still lower nature?
Yes, it is.
And
that's a deep one too, because I think a lot
uh-huh.
that I'm not suffering from that one. I know that might not be good for me to say that, because some
Okay.
people say they draw back. Okay, well if you ain't suffering from that, then if I can't relate, then they don't want to go further. But I have to be honest.
Uh-huh.
You know, you don't have to have a problem with crack cocaine to understand weakness.
Yeah.
You can have a cigarette addiction,
Uh-huh.
and then the same way you go about fixing that will be the way you go about fixing your crack addiction. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say a confidence issue,
Yeah.
where you can't really get things done based on your self-image,
Yeah.
then you must study.
Mm-hmm.
You must study self.
Mm-hmm.
And our religion is the number one religion that teaches you knowledge of self.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you learn that knowledge of self, see, a lot of prayer has to be done now, because if you have it really bad,
Mm-hmm.
a person like that has it really bad, even after knowledge of self, you still can't identify.
Mm-hmm.
And it's people like that.
Mm-hmm.
It must be a lot right in our nation, because if it wasn't, we would be doing so much more as a nation.
Right.
So the fact that we're not, that means that slave mentality is deeply rooted. I'm going to go as far as saying this. Let's get genetic,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a genetic problem. Dysfunction. And that's why we must study the crime that was put against humanity. So much more than just physically whipping somebody, physically putting chains on somebody. You know, the real damage started when they took the chains off.
Deep. Yeah.
To show you how mental slavery really was.
Yeah.
When they took the chains off and you didn't even want to leave,
Mm-hmm.
That's when the damage started. You were normal when they needed a chain. Because if I take the chain off, he's going to kill me. Why? Because I'm killing him.
Right.
But if I take the chain off and you're used to me whipping you 3, 4, 5 times a week, and you won't ever try to get revenge on me, you'll take it out on your own people. See, you're a sick person now. And that's why I believe, like the minister taught us, that there's healing on that wheel that Ezekiel talks about. Black people have to go through mental therapy and all that stuff, but we need a physical healing. So when you hear about these so-called UFOs abducting people, that means they're studying those DNA dysfunctions. So the Bible talks about a new body in Christ. It's not just spiritually new, but physically, you're going to have certain things taken out of you. My family, the type of slaves that we were breeding slaves. Now, what type of DNA dysfunction came from that? When you made to do this, hear me well. You have certain families that are, because you don't marry a person. I told my daughter this. She met this guy. I said, you don't marry a person, you marry a family, baby. So you got to be very careful. This man's family's messed up. You could be extending the life of a twisted up family. You know what I mean? You're opening up to a family that has a bloodline of madness. You got to be careful. There's an art to mating, right? They taught us away from that. They stole that lesson from us. The art of business and the art of mating, right? So a lot of us were bred, and we were bred to have problems. You know what I mean? A lot of our problems come from our breeding. You have a cowardly seed, some people. No fight in them at all. You have an in-house slave mentality seed, where you could keep on reproducing that kind of mindset, the in-house slave mentality. I don't care about nobody else as long as my family's doing fine. I don't, they call it ancestral memory. Your ancestral memory, right? Is not really good when you don't care about your people. Black history almost gets you upset. Some people are like that. Ancestral memory, that's it. You see what I'm saying? Some people are lovers of their own people. You can always get me when you start talking about, we got this book on slavery, we got this book on the pharaohs, we got this book on, whatever. If it's us, I want to study. But I also want to study even if it's them.
Right.
Because I want to see how they got us twisted. So but I started off studying myself. And once I started off studying myself, then it made it easier for me to study other people. Now I'm interested in the whole story.
Yeah.
Yeah. But oh yeah, definitely, brother.
Okay.
It's deeply rooted in our DNA, brother Kyle. So how do you fix that? See what I'm saying? Yeah. So just to get to the end of the answer, you got to just pray and believe on Allah, because I always say, there's a scripture in the Bible, Matthew 5:48. Jesus talking, be ye perfect, even as your Father who is in heaven is perfect. Now this is a well-debated scripture among pastors, because they say you can't be perfect. Now Muslims, we recognize the word be as God's creative word. So he don't say be if he don't want it to be. If he said let there be light, then there's going to be some light. Right. He's not going to say be light and it ain't going to be light. So if he says be ye perfect, well that's what his will is, for man to be perfected. So the pastors want to explain and describe what kind of perfection Jesus is talking about. Are you Jesus? I'd rather Jesus tell me what kind of perfection he's talking about. When they get finished, they say it's the perfect mess for the most part. You can't be perfect. You can't do right. You're going to fall short. That's not perfection. What perfection are you talking about? You don't even know whether they have a male or female. You know, that's not a perfect understanding. You know, so what perfection is Jesus talking about? So that's worth studying. But be ye perfect even as your Father who is in heaven is perfect. I said to that pastor when he asked me, can man or humanity be perfect? Some of our audience, listening audience, viewing audience might ask, can we be perfect, right? Not in this world. I wanted to end on that.
Okay.
It's too many distractions out there that feed the lower nature. You're not going to be perfect. Even the minister always says, I'm perfect enough for you. He don't call himself perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to end on that.
Okay.
Yup. When I say end on that, I'm talking about that question. Because I had to get that out.
Right.
Who's calling? It's who? Oh, what's up, Wes? Yeah, still on that other phone, man. Yeah. I got one in the chair. Nobody wait. Yup. Cool. All right, Wes. Peace. Well, keep calling that phone. But go ahead.
Oh no, that was heavy, brother.
Yeah. Praise be to Allah.
Yeah.
But it's really deep, man, because
And they say that like fasting really the fasting and prayer piece, the fasting actually strengthens the mind and the spirit.
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I would like to, something I'm interested in, maybe for the future, but I would like to do an actual scientific study, like to see how fasting and prayer changes. Right, yeah, like how it changes the mind. You know what I mean? Like how does it actually affect the neuron? You know what I mean? Like that'd be dope.
Yeah, I bet you.
Yeah.
It would be a personal thing because they don't want you to know. See, fasting turns you back into a god. Why would the devil want that for you? I would have to go as far as saying this. Fasting would even probably be more potent for the original people of God. In other words, certain hormones will be released that only the people of the spirit can benefit from. In other words, I'm going to put it this way for the wise, and there's a lot of wise people in the world today.
Right.
Fasting would definitely have to amplify the pineal gland, the function of the pineal gland.
I think so.
That's what you probably would run smack into. Now, the reason I said it like that is because the Europeans, secret scientific studies show that 75 to 80% of Europeans have calcified pineal glands, meaning it's not functioning. Some people say, well, what's the big deal? Who cares? You're saying that because you don't know the function of a pineal gland. The pineal gland is what's responsible for what makes a person human. It's responsible for making a person a moral human being, where he can't allow himself to even be a slave master. You would have to have a calcified pineal gland to even function as a slave master. And that's why our sister, Dr. Joy DeGroy, talks about the post-traumatic slavery syndrome, not just dealing with the post-traumatic, the trauma from black people, but also the trauma of you living under that kind of lifestyle, where you were allowed to kill people like that.
Like it's legal for you to just go and lynch somebody and burn them up.
Right. What are you getting used to as a slave master?
Yeah.
And now that slavery is over, how is that affecting you?
Yeah. It's like the dysfunction on both sides.
The dysfunction in the DNA too. Because you said, well, there ain't no slave masters around no more. Yeah, but their children are here. And if they are slave masters' children that we live among today, that hunger and drive
Yeah.
for that kind of lifestyle.
Yeah.
Some Europeans that are looking at you, they might be sizing you up. They can see a noose around their neck.
Like, man,
Right, he would look real good with a noose around his neck.
that hand me that broke.
Right. That's pretty bad. Because you're a maniac. You're a monster. And there's a bunch of monsters in the world that's being forced to live like human beings.
Damn. And that makes me think about Moses in the Ring of Fire.
Oh, yes.
Wow. Because he had to force him.
Right?
Yeah.
He had to protect himself from the evil of the people
Right.
that he was raising up.
Mm.
They were Europeans that he was teaching. We're taught. We say that so you can take the load off. Don't get upset. You don't believe it, and you don't believe it. But Moses
Good
was
point. Good
turned.
point.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But Moses was getting the slave or the Caucasian out of the cave. For 40 years, he brought the Europeans back down to where the original people lived, so that he was able to put them back on their road to success, so that scriptures would be fulfilled. The older, our people, serving the younger, which is them.
Right.
That wouldn't have took place without prophet Moses. Ain't that deep?
Deep.
God's will had to be done. His ways are not like our ways. You say, well, why would you send a prophet to an evil race of people for them to do evil? Because I can see what you can't see. Isaiah 55. This is what God is saying. My ways are not like your ways. I believe it's verse 13. But I know it's Isaiah. I believe it's, I don't have to keep believing, right? It's good to know. It's good to know. We almost done too, Kyle, on that time. Yeah. So wait a minute. Isaiah 55. Man, that other video we were looking at, it's so important for us to do what we're doing, because our people really don't want to be deceived. And it's not verse 13, it's verse 7. Let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts, and let him return unto the Lord, and he will have mercy upon him, and to our God, for he will abundantly pardon. Now here's verse 8. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are my ways or your ways my ways, saith the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than yours. Now that's verse 8 and 9. Isaiah 55. You want to get it right. Gotta get it right, right?
Actual facts.
Actual facts is what we deal with. And that's because we have love, honor, and respect for our viewers and our listeners and our people. We don't want to feed you no swine message. You know?
So I guess, well, my last question will be, how does, is it, so would you say you give, because I'm thinking about matters, we were talking in one of the other videos about justice, right? Being just to yourself, right? Being fair to yourself. So would you say that by entering into the process of learning self and overcoming the lower nature, joining that process, are you giving yourself justice by doing so?
It's liberating, yes.
Okay.
It's what we were made for.
Okay.
We are made to improve. We're made to evolve and strengthen. That's the way our Heavenly Father made us. He's constantly getting stronger and stronger. We're made to improve, and we're also taught that stagnation is death. So we cannot stay the same without going backwards. So it's either forward or backwards, but we're never stagnant. So we're physically made to improve. So if whatever you feed yourself that's natural, it's always going to be beneficial. It's a benefit in growth. See what I'm saying? to grow as a human being, to mature as a human being, to become more educated as a human being, that is a very good process. It's the only process for the righteous.
Yes, sir.
You know, it's the only process for the wise.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And the well, not just wise, but you got to be well. Sometimes you can be wise and sick. Wise, but you don't have the understanding, you know, to actually stay in that way.
Right.
See, so it says, get knowledge, right? In Proverbs, get knowledge, but with all you're getting, get understanding. Or get wisdom. With all you're getting, get wisdom, and with all your wisdom, get understanding. You know what I mean? And look at how that's put. Knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Why would understanding be deeper than knowledge or wisdom? Because you can know about something and not benefit from what you know. Some people got good advice, they won't follow their own advice.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
Then you can be a person that's wise enough that you do follow your own advice, but you don't understand how to continue to do it, so you can't master it. You're wise, so you can live a certain way, but you can't keep it together. See, when you totally have understanding, there's no reason for that to ever change. Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. Always praise be to Allah. What am I without Allah and His messenger and reminder? What are we?
Nothing. Zero.
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 Yup.
Do you have any closing thoughts?
Yes, sir. And it pretty much stayed in my head the whole interview. Me opening up myself, see, as being an encouraging thing for other people to do. My weaknesses, you know what I mean? Without getting too personal. We want to keep it PG.
Right. Right.
But my weaknesses, I feel like with all of the answers that I'm giving you, really, I'm serious to you. All the answers I'm giving you, that's from God. I say all praise is due to Allah because it is Allah, it's not me. But when it comes down to Zebulon, the person, me, I have questions. And I don't have answers for my questions. I'm not really asking because I have to learn this answer. And it's dealing with my lower nature and my lack of ability to conquer it. Why? This is my question. Can I not beat or defeat my lower nature? When I'm sincerely in love with the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad as taught by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, why am I still struggling in certain areas, no matter how big or small? Why have I not lit that weakness? So I feel like the time that we're living in right now, where we require a lot of prayer. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, in the dark hour that we're living in, he said, our righteousness shall sustain us. I'm just going to end on this note. You can't be righteous if you're not honest. We need to shine a light on our problems and pray on our problems so that we can be sincere. That's the thing with the whole talk. That's what makes you more magnetic, more real, when you're not phony and faking it like you got everything together. So we can end on that, brother.
Praise be to Allah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, my brother. So
Alhamdulillah.
until next time, alhamdulillah.
Man, oh man. See, I didn't even think it was going to go like that.
Yeah.
You know, we anxiously waiting to see you again.
Assalamu alaikum, family.
Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, good.